An ongoing construction project just weeks away from being finished is about to put Louisville on the soccer map even more. It's a state-of-the-art training facility to complement Lynn Family Stadium going up at Champions Park right along River Road. However, Focus investigator John Charlton explains how construction can continue at the site with a health hazard underground.
An old landfill isn't exactly prime real estate, but the ownership group behind professional soccer in Louisville didn't see it that way. In fact, they invested $15 million here. They broke ground back in August, even though breaking ground here has been of major concern for a very long time. The first half sees plenty of action, even though it's just practice. The second half, just as busy, doing the dirty work with the goal of completing a league-leading practice experience by late April.
In order to get it from where it was to where it is, it's fantastic work.
Where it was, or more appropriately, what it was. It was a place to play soccer already in Louisville, and it was also the place to park and camp at Bourbon and Beyond.
The place has been declared as a disaster area.
Until torrential rain shut it down in 2018. There was serious concern about the deep ruts. Spinning tires created as RVs and others had to be towed out. The reason for concern? Because it was all happening on top of what was a toxic ash landfill, prompting back then geologist Bill Johnston
looked at where the deepest ruts were
with lineback Funkhauser.
No rut was deeper than 5 inches.
As well as state samplers to test for any escape of toxins.
There was not any contamination that had reached the surface of the site.
Protecting us above ground from the ash below ground is a 2-foot cap made of a 1/2 foot of soil and 1.5 feet of compacted clay.
This is all above ground.
It's all above grade.
Tom Fitzgerald, an attorney and director of the Kentucky Resources Council, had explained how designs,
the base that is holding up the fence,
prohibited anything in ground, including fencing.
18 inches of barrier between the public and that waste. You don't mess with it.
So when Focus recently sent over these construction photos, including the massive already installed light poles, Fitzgerald
It didn't come across my radar screen until you called.
couldn't believe it.
Oh, my initial reaction was, oh no, not again.
Fitzgerald says he immediately raised a red flag with the city, as well as with the Commonwealth's Department for Environmental Protection.
Typical construction is going to entail footers, and it's going to entail a lot of excavation.
And that would likely dig into the ash.
The integrity of the cap is essential.
Within days, a state inspector showed up.
I met him out here,
Bill Johnston is back on site
walked him around.
and on the job, this time for the developer.
He was in agreement with everything. He said we had done everything exactly like we were supposed to.
According to a stack of project documents Focus obtained, including the state inspection, the project was in compliance and had been sticking to the plans. The main building for offices and locker rooms is specially engineered.
It's actually a floating foundation. It was not dug down, and that was a design to allow us to not have to go below the cap.
But plans to keep the lights on.
The only thing that really has penetrated the cap are those light poles.
With 70-foot-high light poles required an additional 15 feet to go into the ground.
It's actually down into the fill material.
Another special design.
We've cast that in concrete, so that's not creating a conduit for any contaminants to go down into the groundwater table.
If anything, the president of the ownership group
This project has gone unbelievably quickly.
says in some areas they've added another layer of protection.
What you see on this site is a lot of dirt that's been moved around, and actually we've added to the site. So the cap and the bad stuff is farther down than it was before.
Brad Esty says there was nothing blurred, nothing overlooked to achieve the vision.
What we've done is we've taken a landfill and we've turned it into something that the city can be proud of.
You can use these sites. You just have to respect the limitations of the sites. That's what didn't happen with the Bourbon and Beyond debacle, and that is what did happen here.
And Tom Fitzgerald says maintaining the cap's integrity is probably in better hands now with this ownership group. They have a bigger budget for it, especially since the lease on this property is just $1 a year. For Focus, I'm John Charlton.